Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
These challenges are and navigating but yeah, if you stretch the conversation a little bit, now be say COCOBOD, an institution that you want to say Ghana cocoa ye duena na yan konkoto na yan konkoton na yan fasika no bi emetu akuafo no ka na yan so yan fa bi more mine ho bra no ebeba ne sen and that institution will quickly transform from your friend is saying profit making entity into a sort of debt producing machine, because COCOBOD is one a debt machine they see her a car and they produce you, and for me it's very embarrassing. And no now but decisions are caused in recent times kwabrane a body team at the institution now, yeah, because we live in a country where punitive sanctions need those kind of way, you know, you are relegated to the background. So anybody I'll be your opportunity to be in power and things I can just do anything and get away with it. NPP have listened to a lot of the guys in there, farming areas, farmers are seeking to incite them say say own to moka, but that is not what the situation is. The fact of the matter is COCOBOD na nkasane ya bureka gusu and some of the kwanya e kana e faso buy no what mind boggling, you understand? And sometimes I blame the current COCOBOD say you see, whenever you inherit an entity or we are saying and a situation like this let the people know. I can't say governance and yabosom. So what's your sam so wa so because one problem, but I think I will try to tell people the state and nobody will take you serious. You understand? I sat here some time ago and attempted to open some of the way to you. Because that is what you need to governance and open it up. Let people know the state of because John Mahama promised to pay cocoa farmers 70% of the FOB price. And indeed he paid. But the only unfortunate thing is dollar na nam set tiba for mintino, the money as a farmers of Monsakano, they couldn't. Because that is the exchange rate problem. I wasn't the president, but the promise that he made is over to your cocoa farmers 70% of the FOB price. You know, he kept that particular promise. But I'm saying that dollar no aswati aba for mintino cocoa farmers can around 6,000. You know, they couldn't get because of the exchange rate. And it is a lie for LB. Better be aka say promise no make you the promise has been and dollar no swati aba for no. Cocoa farmer no sika kese there, but are compensating the other side. And I look at the economy and I try to stabilize, you know. And it's a woje sika na wanya, even though said that now we expect to say because no wanya na it will compensate for these things. But kwabrane chire and na to go amount for say sika na almost 70,000. Sa 70,000 the whole FOB price, you know. Sa buying time ni na the farmers kwa enu 7,000 because of the exchange rate. So it is highly hypocritical. And again, answer na buying back on na sa jute sack na se for no. Yeah, there a big report to clear ko munyan clear. Kwabrani sign contract e ko pia bebre begum some of the sack na ye be hia no. Maybe in the next 5-6 we kwa no yen
15 years old.
Exactly. But kwabrani tena sign contract COCOBOD no dey come ebo modern eco science contract no ekoto buy. I know that they are money number, and today they are emboldened to be doing press conference. And again, 2016, John Mahama Babakono. Not cocoa near to miss strive to a point. Eka Krabi, Eka 2016. Your fans are 1 million metric tons of cocoa. 2024, I buy no bacono. Not cocoa syndicated loaner, Yakwakwaji. Say they babato cocoa. Not Yakwakuti Ayakano. Syndicated loan, na yadeka. It got to a point even cocoa we had to collateralize it. Yakosikam, Sabaya Ibenya Sika. COCOBOD, this your friend is saying, the documents I had a cocoa loan, come friend is saying, the credit worthiness. And now so, am I a cocoa loan? It was 0. You could not go out there because cocoa and our cocoa went to Yaka over 390,000 metric tons of cocoa. You need to pay in the next year. And the funny aspect of it is next year now Ubetiano say cocoa price in the cost of now you are not going to sell at the current price because Nippon went in the car in the last year, so you are going to use the last year price. And it's such an entity never that. So these are the factual realities. yatena na yentumi and pay attention to. Over the years, made the financing model of COCOBOD, I've always criticized it. It doesn't make sense. Sa cocoa syndicate ya kwaji bafuna insi ho yeba to cocoa ni akwa kutia. So when the NPP in 2022 make that declaration, so free na kono syndicated loan yan kwaji biem, they created an impression say or other financing model be a sustainable pay, not knowing say a Ghana COCOBOD books were so dirty to the sense that and the credit ratings of Ghana at the time there wasn't any single entity from Ghana because you demonstrated say so we lost that particular chance to go to your friend saying for that cocoa syndicated loan. And the papa so I'm making it look like government has a certain financing model be ever. And then in the mua a buying changing there need to be a definite discussion as to what financing model will be appropriate for us because early stages are John Mahama taking over no. Now the economy said that so you cannot make and start any conversation to go for any loan at the time because mine and Kasakwana fena over here near mama near my ye and son what thinking about loan. So the option of going for those loans, now then the COCOBOD will have to fall on other people who are ready to provide their money for you to buy the cocoa, then ukotonwa. Not your friends say sikani who say the BCI no, but private person or not in the sika amount that money and like a friend guarantee other sources of way the amount and you no scan or the amount or share the prevailing your friends a market price and did what promise of farmers he doesn't care because he's a business person you understand and sikana buy a what the top price no catch us and then cocoa no eswati before I buy a take over, no, I buy take over early stages, now it was around 5,000 metric tons, 5,000 per ton, dollar per ton, and then I dip it almost by your friends $100,000, about 4,000, 4,000, what you can set it price, price, on the previous 5,000. Cocoa farm, and you cannot go to a cocoa farm and tell them matter price, and so that can never happen in this country because it will be politically suicidal. So a buyer will have to find any other alternative aside reducing the cocoa price because the very moment you go say that is suicidal, you know say politically it is very dangerous to make that decision. And the question is how do you come up with a way the financing gap will be addressed. And this is the challenge. In some of my country, when you know, say, and yet deliberate say, obiti COCOBOD and that, Randy Aben, what take certain reckless decision, Nadia Babedu and that. A systemic, Nemana Boa, no Babedu, and catch up with us. So going forward, I think what we need to discuss is the appropriate financing model. Either say a domestic or external. Now you're making sure, say, COCOBOD, say and a very secure source of funding going forward. This is how we want to do it. And again, cannot just walk free. And because people sat our ECG did the same thing. Okay, cables in as a form. Every night a binum sawamnin as a form. Quite first or mine. Sometimes what's in China as a young person, I will hear the rate they pay near my first you feel so embarrassed and ask yourself, until my way, obiti baby or dream my home. Because you can't be doing these things. Abanya lose power and sign contract yen to talk to Nema. And the sad aspect in the Sanya Maninya Medu, any panini na Canada. Because why one juicy car on bomb farm. So our mind cannot be running on this particular line. So for me, I think that it's sad that this thing, COCOBOD is going through this way. But I think that now that the president has taken keen interest in it, I hope that we'll be able to navigate our way through. Now, sir, and some now conforming crass or mutu trogu cocoa farmers assume say obi na akoboka na obi na yese no obi ya yese no kwa bi anim nipo mo di COCOBOD a dream ni na for the same person because entity no you hand it over to them no now it has a positive we have say equity about a sign I will hand it over no then you are run over about 2.something billion in terms of negative equity and the same person today have the moral audacity running from farmers telling them say abandon afa musika sika be na abandon fire when they are privy to the prevailing way your friend is saying the market. And again and I'm say over the years yenye neema yenti cocoa na ye produce any Cote d'Ivoire no we are not the people who even determine the price. Isn't it shameful ye produce a raw material no and yeah because we are unable to add value. Nipa no ko add value no we determine the price. It doesn't make sense. So we must also be looking at value addition. Kwa ebe fa so cocoa no you better turn it into a finished product. So you send your product now, and then there is a price tag. You want to over inside, but also one roll now the car on the decoy BB or on the factory. So on the bed determine price and amount. So we must also be looking at some of these things. COCOBOD the car to the sense that now one of the entities is CMB or one of the cocoa marketing way. Now you're torn a Japan, your body don't come in because PBC.
Yeah, PBC, yeah, PBC.
Yes. Emma Brandt be kind they not happy with it. Your power man that
was last week.
Yes, the gentleman. And these jokers today are out there making loud noise about COCOBOD. Yeah, PBC, you know. Yes, a son and near man a car and as a phone you be good way and I auction because a carmen or the entity agu. COCOBOD the same thing.
You could be sad, Dr. Balbia will meet the press or also on your way say COCOBOD you go.
Oh yo. So yeah, these are the factual realities. So I think government should find a way. Yeah, they abayamawa. Nya friend I will be blamed. I understand. Say you don't need to be blamed, but I think the story must also be told.
Exactly.
Because these people are out there deceiving farmers and telling them say sikana obikuraka say esan komama mo 60 million.
Yeah.
How is it possible? The FOB price at the time and it cost 5,000. 5,000 no convert here saying how can you pay way? But the fact is that dollar na swate the bank kept its promise by making sure that the 70% of the FOB price will be paid. But dollar depreciation, you know, it has gone to the other side. You understand?
So dollar no so depreciating side and
so that is the level of intellectual dishonesty you slot into our politics. Some of these guys because I'm one of the negative politics. Yan say nipa and they are the best when it comes to some of these things. But the things they are accusing people of, you know, almost setting the board emotion, everything that has happened since when everybody cocoa a buying will have to pre-finance. Your friends say, "Wokofa cocoa, wukwa kutiaka, winjisika, what you do and you did all these things in the Allah. Yeah, it's funny."
Mete Osha rollover contractor we COCOBOD and Casa document. Kwa mfa so nya de me kwa namnim. Or see total rollover contract of 333,768 metric tons worth at 2,661 per ton. Into total delivered 235,395 metric tons using 2024-2025 production purchase at producer price of $3,100 per ton. Yes, I don't know. So
you see, that there is a financing gap now.
There's a financing gap. So you say, yeah, $103 million. Send a bet me
yes, and my culture said price in water so it's not an option.
Yeah.
So it means that is why the president has come in. You need to find a way.
Yeah, because to go and look for money.
Yes, a cost will benefit here, but from so you should. So that is how. But I think COCOBOD now structurally, you know, we need to just set it up properly.
Yeah.
And some of the institutional laxity, you know, is high. I think there must be certain stringent measures.
Conditions of service so your power.
Oh, now I want to say you too big way that. Yeah, I think you see, state own enterprises over the years, and there are two teams. They are not entities running profits. But can we say they are entities running for a loss? So most of them have become debt-producing machines. And on mobile mine car, Bank of Ghana for the first time to over 60 billion. What to be that? ECG Airboka. Your friends saying almost all the entities Airboka. But these are people who are paid well. CEO, he's paid even better than the president and MPs.
Yeah.
Your friends are fact allowances, but they are all running debt. Yes, we can understand that some of the rule, no, but we cannot always be accepting. No. But comes to that human indiscretions and those kind of stuff.
Devine, COCOBOD assembly.
When him COCOBOD assembly, I assemble here, and when you put it, if you put it into a historical perspective, we say cocoa for COCOBOD in some dia obetumi atuna jeje mu and also obe handle no e bia la keke because we check here history fiti Kwame Nkrumah pencil even pre-colonial times any post besinda who say yen budget and yen GDP ni yen bibia no we for cocoa contribution from the economy never crashing and that's a big collapse.
Sure.
Contribution no very very significant would mean relegate you.
Yeah.
And it had to say a for no year or contract. Do you know say almost can a training say co school.
Yeah.
Na fa onim de no be manage ye na nanu ma adwe na wa ache no no say co school. Na fa onim de no ebra ebeboa na ye manage ye. Ye mum no de akọ school no ye nyansa na ye nyaye no ye mum ye di wi omo ye de bomb kro no e mismanage omo and that's quite unfair. She COCOBOD literally practically like crumbling on its knees out to say or yeah, our challenges. Why? How did we get here?
Yeah.
It's because say nipa sheda bonitrimu pose omu placing the interest of the ordinary farmer no. E was so e no mo ankasa because how come say e kai fo no mo ko afuom omu ko nwuram ekodo e de eniaye ba na oman no timi di kwaje bosia o e wo mudin mu omu suma mu yoba mo kra mo de kwaje hu sika e je ho faso na eba now see who to me nyom musika e fa mom it's because of how I manage institution hwe ukokai Auditor General's report 2023 dia ya wo mun say unim say administrative overhead costs nkwa ebro the entire sika no mu tua cocoa farmers foka na o share omo breakdown one you can see say crofo just wicked say omo call for monitoring no hwe omo call monitoring say o yoteke mu no aba wafuom na yesi o ye behwe na ye hwe say o ko hwe budget ya assign ya omo de call rounder more than half of producers for sika na cost that particular unit office ni pe monitoring me wa na yesi ye sika enfentua. Even when there was an embargo placed on recruitment, say no, your budget no, I tight. Until at this point, no, my recruitment, me and say. That was when last minute.
Yes, and it's true. Quickly, I think that this overstaffed COCOBOD and now workers number over 100,000.
Yeah, and somebody was saying, he was met with say, okay, you
you're packing it.
Yeah, you're packing, and I said, okay, you'll be this. Yes.
Payroll so crampa ye nimba any office mom ye ni baby mom ye ni baby adwuma mo ye and ye recruit and it's cut across na Ivan Ekashe scholarship secretariat e ka amagina to and na me no ka say omanga na hia suahunu bi wo advanced artificial intelligence man bi munti no we need to go and expand our UK ye de ka UK amasisi yi ye tumi and microphone could. How did we get here? In 2022-2023, the Minister of Finance wrote to the Secretariat, Scholarship Secretariat, said no. Pause. Microphone na mo position mo ni na no. Yen hwe how you be reconcile in financial na make sure say omo sikasam ye betua biansa. Unim say that sorry ye no kwabra ni 2024 no kra na ya ma no warning kra no 2023 e ho kra no sa so ni nipa e ko kumu. Na dia ya ne say okobrani ani oba atwempena nimpena oni oba na twi keke ni nti no obekọ no oba na busua ni nyina line ni nyina obi agu UK enya scholarship and it's not even based on merits. Sadi we cut across am ye di e humbo ne mi kokofo no. I'm not going to say me ni aban enya aduana say ebia bebia state na aban ehu ne ho a I to say why handicap quite handicapped no. May sympathize with Abai, but me there, I'm on the side of the farmers. The farmers no na me there me ni omo urging because e kokokokoba ye didi no mo akomodi omo. What I say ye bo abose ya na sankofo ne tete ho. Ye bo abose ya na sankofo ne to hwe ECG. Could you imagine say okabrani o me ni maji o nipa ne trim na o say or procure stationery. Stationery procure in advance of 30 years.
Yes, no
photocopy paper. To 30 years. People, to say photocopy paper. And they say no order abegu honum. That no around the jute sacks. Ya order containers. Ya to be clear. Ya so order etua in advance. No kobda na kofi. akoda na yere nchen
ha
ani yete hande na yesi kokofo no yenya abotre mo obi ani obenya abotre why we must find money say ye di kotuo mo ka no say dem sika mo but abai so to me mba no me hwe han e be ka say oh ye tua sika we are going to find money somewhere until ye tua we omo di sa abone no no makokoda Auditor General's report 2023 biwa sika ye lusu ye through malpractice, corruption and corruption related in Yemen. It was a tune of 25 billion. When you say 18.5 is a energy sector and ECGP. Energy sector 18.5 billion. Now beside say Ebane saying Nipa no mo running under no mo kwanda no or no say or engage in what's your friend CSR. Corporate social responsibility. Ako onu no ti ontumi ntua ene friends independent power producers ka ontumi ntua osimesika ontumi ye hwe no onu so akokoto motorbikes more than 1,000 because I say order who's a Ghana problem in procurement and akoto motorbikes say the Kwakoma institution so no ye corporate social responsibility yanka se eto untuaka and all this thing nyina esika esinke into individual pockets. Why are they still there? Imagine say obeko ECG se asa okoto credit wa okita osika obedu esi network ni so ye will be contract every month bi as you tia ne ka now still the person is still holding on nipa na so na esa so manage the same contract you see there be meanwhile no okwa services that you provide them amount for no any ho
na na no nam ha na meter nyansa ye nya hwe kwabrane award meter ye replace yes because ya contract
me see Ghana problem no procurement and unim say ya ma sebi nkofa dwen nya adwuma da no madam bi ka kire me teacher ni bi o upper west ot honum and what letter ko ECG say omo roof eliki omo hie nsuo omo hie washroom ni ayi omo tra omo sanka omo honum a ya the next more than 400 ababegu ono bi say
na nkonya ram de
na nkonya de omo de no say o ya order from ministry na de abana mudinka ono so ono request for hwe omo say o njia na ejagu awia ni mu because ya the contractor mo bi say COCOBOD dex na pabegu onum na yentua o kind when people don't even need it into who say Ghana say obi pretend say odwin na oye bibi kakra na it say di obenya film but when it comes and benefit you mo no mama dwen no abo ayi I say adwin fia bo mutrim hwa bibi o kai say ayi nkrofo bi e share that by say obo ba be support in health sector abcc cheap compounds ni ayi na that time no President John Romani mama first term no ma sign a contract be esenka abanda da no continue minister ne buy no unu say because ye buyer you see ye man kickback ye man hwe bia menu omo ye ya na omo si o yes eba enu kra ka ma bibi ye sake no all because na o push age omo ko find out no okọ ye say okọ cabinet meeting ko for net one mo si o zango for project ne de mi wa ko for no mdo musika ba be bibia be on the ya ba hwe itino ye boy ho abra say ye be gin dia solving crofo problem a ye di anim di ande adwe ne nya adwuma na ke tra say hwe okuye ni ye si cocoa contract cocoa road is lego ye cocoa ho it is a cocoa ni a onu kwafuo mu we all know how roads near deplorable now say there be unkosi hospital unkosi health facility mom unyo kwan yie oba be si cocoa clinic ewo North Kaneshi meanwhile no mo call for ma o ka omo snake serum no ye freeze because one freeze say o di aba betu kolebu ne ko bisa say nipa he no wo ka omo e di omo ba ho 37 ye call mo bush meanwhile bush mo na say you have to think about the farmers and their interests no you careless it no shimi say sometimes how are we try say your boy and one boy treat you ho ni your boy and one kro no me dey me say last time you know I was on the observer mission in South Africa in their elections and one of my colleagues from Congo on me jina no catch him say sometimes boy and one bro because I say politician you can still solve the problem and eat. And still let your children attend the best schools or say you will drive the best car and still solve the problem. How come say because me I don't know how I
agree
it's possible say like me ebi wa nkofo dom ne meja me so manage we ma me was you construct obi wa osi dan was you Devine obetimi aboa me ne yesi hwe edan ni keke na me hwe na me monitor say yesi o me kwa haba no me mfa hwe but me akasa so me sorted in the process
you
also we minister Unya sorted who award the contract, who make sure say contract no, yeah. Unya she. Now make sure say wow the win kick back a crowd but make sure say the no. They are solving. Now muji we are. Namako that say yen na yefia no enkope mubuo. How do you treat the state like that? Me COCOBOD problem no. I am emotional, sentimental about it because people suffer. Yeah, and as I see, you know, you're careful, black gold na ye keka na you see you won't say black gold na cocoa na cocoa so your economy na no. When you give people options, people will go for other avenues and bois or mine. For instance, you see a yen name gold mean maybe if you say see baby out to yabi now for best started so may be experiment and unfortunately for us as a country team see. Let's not pretend. I always say this: you need policy be national policy be for especially the youth. In future, no, you need addressing what we call the shortfall artisanship.
Yeah.
It would be say no because of a certain culture. See, and young people are more on pay juma, on pay kiayo, on pay apprenticeship.
The quick money.
Be quick because our orientation na yede mam mrantie ne nkola no at the basic level no say intesi obi aye quick na nke ba ne say na isi hairdresser etumi tena on mo no achiro apprentice needed with salary. Apprentice yes also if apprentice and the salary ka ho. That's why we are going.
I can pay.
They see we see die over site say 10 people na on 9 microphone move in neighboring countries Ghana ni baako
Dedi kama amena PENDREAM TV ase na so far so good say open online portal e wo Ghana nipa share nipa follow nipa comment here to my best of knowledge without any biases PENDREAM TV